from you guys as the courses on the platform who use the platform every day. What is working for you? What's not really working for you? But also for us to introduce our changes that we've made recently on the platform. And these changes are just based off of the previous surveys that we've shared and sent through to you guys, and the feedback that you've given us. And then we've done a few tweaks on the platform just to kind of make it a bit better and a bit easier just to be able to use as well. So just a quick reminder, I will be running through them in more detail, but I just want to share my screen with you guys so we can just get a quick reminder of what are these updates that we're talking about today, so that you are all aware of them. Oh gosh, 2 seconds, please. There we go. Okay. Okay, of course, I have tech issues now that I need to share this. Oh, gosh. Okay, there we go. All right, so just a quick reminder of our platform updates. So we've made updates to our course profile and quality score. So we've just made updates with how we actually weight out the different things on our course quality and profile score. Like I said, I will be going through this in more detail when we move on to the next session. And then we've also made changes on how we rate. So we've got new rating options. So before you were just able to kind of rate using the stars. Now you're able to kind of give us a bit more detail. Like, for instance, if the volunteer didn't come, if, for instance, you as the course didn't need the volunteer anymore, you're able to kind of click on a drop-down menu now and be able to select that so that we can know exactly what it is that happened during the volunteer session. We've also had some feedback from some of our clients around some courses kind of not responding on time or not really getting back to their employees on time. So we've introduced what we call top tier courses. And so top tier courses are courses who have a score of 80% and above. And those courses will then appear on our white labeled site for our clients. So that's just for us to be able to make sure that the guys that are communicating with our clients are the top tier courses, the base courses that we have on the platform, people who actually are utilizing the platform constantly. And then we've also made changes on adding your beneficiary numbers to your needs. So when you put up a need now, you are actually able to let us know how many people that need will actually impact, how many beneficiaries it will impact. Are there going to be direct beneficiaries that it's impacting or indirect beneficiaries that it's impacting? So that also just gives us a better and a clearer picture of the impact of each of the opportunities that you put up on the platform. And then lastly, we've added what we call a priority dashboard tab on the dashboard rather, so that you're able to actually kind of see who you haven't responded to, how many kind of responses are almost due, because what we've realized is that a lot of the time it's kind of hard for you to tell who you've responded to. So what we've done is we've created a priority dashboard so you're able to actually see who you've responded to, who you haven't responded to, and with the new 5 days requirement of response, you're also able to see how many days you have left, and so you can actually respond to a volunteer or a donor. So that's just it for now. I just want to move on actually to the actual platform itself so we can start actually going through some of these changes. As a reminder, please feel free to just drop any questions in the chat, any comments you might have on some of the things that I'll be going through today. Please also drop them in the chat so that we can actually be able to then answer those questions. But let me just take you through again, like I promised, each of the little changes in greater detail. So normally when you log into your forgood dashboard, today I'm using a course called Mobs Kids Play Schools. They've allowed me to use our profile for today's session. So when you log into your profile, you're able to select if you want to go into your dashboard, your profile, or if you want to sign out. So obviously today, right now, we are on what we call our dashboard. So when you log into your dashboard, this is where you will see your profile quality and engagement score. So we've updated the way that we weight this particular score out, because before you used to have a number of 5 needs. Now only 4 needs will be able to give you a full 25% of the score. Your responsiveness. So are you responding to volunteers on time? We've now got a new kind of response SLA of 5 days, 5 working days, because we think that's sufficient time for both the volunteer to respond to you and both for you as the course to respond to the volunteer. We do know that sometimes you can't respond almost immediately when a volunteer reaches out to you, but we think that 5 days is sufficient time for you to be able to jump on your platform and just quickly respond to a volunteer or a donor who's reached out to you. And then 20% of the score is made up by your tax compliance. So are you compliant with SARS? So every year or now and then, whenever your tax clearance expires, I will send through an email to say, Hi there, this is Amo from forgood. Please can you upload or send through a new tax clearance certificate? So this is also affected by, the score is also affected by that, and that's 20% of your score. And then, are you rating your activities? How many activities do you have on the platform, and how many of them are you rating? So the more you rate your activities, the higher your score will get. We always we always recommend that you rate your activities 7 days prior to someone reaching out to you. So you give them the full 5 days to actually be able to respond to you, and then you can rate them. So are you rating your activities? And rating activities counts for up to 15% of your score. So a lot of our courses don't realize that when they don't rate the activities, it does actually affect your profile score, because when you rate your activities, we're able to get feedback from your end as to how is the volunteering actually going? Are our volunteers actually as good as what we think they are, or is it something that they can be doing a bit better? Right, so just remember the ratings are very, very important. And then lastly, something else as well that a lot of our courses always tend to forget is, are you updating your beneficiary numbers? So when you go into your profile here in the back end, we have got a place where you can actually update your beneficiary numbers. So year by year, we would like for you as our courses on the platform to update these beneficiary numbers so that when we report back on the kind of impact that you guys are making on the ground, we actually are reporting back with accurate numbers. So again, just a reminder, you are all able to go in and update your beneficiary numbers. Recommended as once a year. So either when you are submitting your annual reports or when you are submitting your DSD narrative report, that's always a good time to update these, because that's when you'll have the latest and most updated numbers when it comes to your beneficiaries. So that's just it when it comes to our profile and quality score. Does anyone have any questions with or any concerns with any of the changes that we've made on the platform concerning this particular place? This is your chance now to kind of say yes, no, what's not working for you, what is working for you, how are you finding it? Have you guys actually been able to make, to notice the changes that we've made on the platform, and how are you finding it? Okay, silence is always good. Silence sometimes means there's nothing to share. I'll also just double check in the chat if there's anything that I've missed on there. No questions. Okay. Okay, hi Zalmo, just a quick question. Are the volunteers linked with the courses vetted by forgood? So yes, Arthur, we do kind of vet our volunteers, but obviously we also, like I always say whenever I run my course trainings, because each of our courses, you guys deal with different things. We'd also like for you guys to have your own internal processes of vetting. So for instance, if you work with children, we'd prefer for you guys to have your own kind of internal vetting process. So whether you want to do a criminal check, for instance, as an example, you want to do maybe like a background check on what this person's actually done in the past before. We'd prefer for you guys to also do your own internal kind of vetting processes, because each of our NGOs deal with different things, and some people deal with more kind of vulnerable people in our communities, and so they need to kind of make sure that they're actually doing the extra vetting on their end as well, to make sure that the volunteers that they bring onto their premises are actually of the standard that they require on their end as well. I see we've got some hands, so I'm going to take them in order. So I've got Kate first, and then we're going to go with Diana and then Tessa. Kate, you can go ahead and go first.
Thanks, Emma. I think it's really helpful to know that in addition to us having the 5-day response, what I understood you to be saying is that the volunteers also have 5 days.
Yes.
And if they haven't come back to us after that, we can go ahead and assume that they're not going to.
100%. So that's what we've communicated with them as
perfect.
well, that they've got 5 days. So that's why I say we give them about 7 days, because sometimes the weekends can kind of eat into that 5 days. But if it's been about a week and they haven't said anything, then please do go ahead and rate them, because you are able to re-rate the volunteer post that if they come back to you maybe and say, hi, Kate, I'm so sorry I had an emergency, as an example, and I'd love to still come and volunteer, then you are able then to come through.
Okay, perfect. Then my other question was going to just be around, with the ratings, is there a timeline that you're expecting for that as well? So for example, I might post a need now for Mandela Day, but then obviously I'm only going to rate them, I assume, after the event has actually taken place. Is that okay?
100%. So what I normally say is it's 7 days for the actual initial response from the volunteer, but then also please do only rate the actual activity after it's happened, because obviously as you chat to the volunteer, they might say, I'm not available on this Saturday, but I can do it 3 Saturdays from now, and then post that actual volunteering happening or not happening, whatever it is the outcome of that situation, please then go ahead and then rate after that.
Perfect. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thanks, Kate. Diana, I see you've also got your hand up. You can go next for us, please.
Asking to say that there is a trend that we are picking with volunteers, that they just volunteer. When you send a response to them, they don't even come back to you. And for me, it's like you get almost 90% of those guys. So is there a way that you guys also communicate with them so that when people are putting in to say they are volunteering, it's a genuine need to volunteer or to assist?
Yeah, that's why we've actually introduced the drop downs, Diana, because before, when you guys were rating, not everybody was putting in the reasoning why they'd rate a volunteer like a 1 or a 2 as an example. And so we wouldn't really know if it's because a volunteer didn't come through. Is it because the actual opportunity wasn't really great when they arrived? So that's why we've put down the drop down so that we can actually know which of our volunteers are not coming back to you guys, are not responding, are they not responsive? And then we can find out from them what is it that's happening with them. And then obviously we've put in the measures on our end to try and make sure that we do eventually get to a point where those volunteers are not able to actually interact with our courses if we're finding that it's a trend that's happening quite often with them. Dan, I don't know if that answers your question. I'm not sure if you are still on the call.
Thank you, it does. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. I also see Rudy just sent through another comment as well in the, Rudy's just actually answering a question. Thank you, Rudy. All right, and then I see we've also got a hand from Tessa. Tessa, you can go ahead with your question, please.
Hi there. So I want to ask about when you have a need like something like job shadowing or work experience, I don't seem to be able to find that as a category. Can you maybe show me on your screen where I would find that? And then I'm not sure if I should ask my other questions a little bit later, but
Okay.
just in terms of the volunteers, is there any way, I realize you want us to drive our interactions through on the platform, but when you respond and then you get no response back from a volunteer, is there any way that we can directly contact them with an email address or something along those lines? I've got one more question, but I can save it for later. Maybe it will come up later. Thank you.
No worries. So with the volunteers and the email addresses, what we've been finding a lot of the times is that what's been happening was a communication breakdown when it's off the platform, because some of them, because they're corporate volunteers, they've got their own blockers and securities within their own kind of internal systems. And so what happens when you send an email through, it might just end up straight to spam. And so it doesn't necessarily let the volunteer know that you've reached out to them, which is why we are encouraging for both our volunteers and our courses to use the platform, because that's one way where we're actually able to pick up, oh, hey, someone's volunteered to Tessa's course and they actually haven't really gotten back to her on the platform. But obviously past the first interaction, you are able to say to the volunteer, hey, if it's easier for you to communicate on email, on WhatsApp, if you're comfortable with sharing your contact details, please then share those with us. Then you'll be able to take your communication off the platform. But what we want to do is the initial communication between you and the volunteer, we want to be able to keep an eye on that to say, all right, is Tessa actually getting the assistance that she's needing from this volunteer or not? So we want you to keep that initial communication on the platform, because at least then we know for sure that you are both getting the messages, that the volunteer is getting the message and that you are also getting the message. And then post that, if you both decide that the platform's not working for you and you prefer a phone call, an email, or whatever it is that works a bit better for you guys are able then to go off the platform and then chat there. And then you wanted to ask about the job shadowing need, right? If I'm understanding you correctly. So this is when you want your young people to be able to then go job shadow somewhere. All right, so that would be more of like a volunteering need. So you would essentially add it, let me go here, sorry. So you'd essentially add it like a volunteering need, right? So you would need volunteers. So let's say you have about 100 young people in your organization. I'm just going to just quickly make a mock need. So maybe you say
Summer, you're not sharing in case you
sorry.
wanted to.
Sorry, Rudy, thank you for that. I definitely thought I was sharing. Let me do that again. Okay, let me just show you. So this is where now you would, let me just start the process from the beginning so everybody's able to see. So you would go and, gosh. go. So you'd go under your needs, and then obviously as you're adding the need, this is a need. Obviously, you need people to volunteer to be able to allow the children to be able to job shadow with them. So you can say you need someone to volunteer. It's a business related skill because you want someone to go and job shadow. And then subcategory, if you don't have a specific category, then you can just select other, and then you can move on. And then if it's for a specific place, maybe you want to job shadow in Durban as an example, then you can put that address here. We'll just leave this as City of Johannesburg. And then you can then put it in. So let's say maybe you have 50 beneficiaries that need to go and be part of job shadowing. You could say, we need 50 volunteers for more than 8 hours, because obviously job shadowing is going to take a bit longer than 8 hours. For our beneficiaries, well, to be able to join you for job shadowing. Okay, obviously there's a better way to write this. I'll figure it out, but you can kind of then say for job shadowing as an example, and then you then move on, and then it'll ask you how many beneficiaries would it impact. So obviously you would say all 50 of them. Yes, the same beneficiaries. Then you move on. Then you can actually put more details on here and say, we have 50 beneficiaries that are in need of job shadowing, as an example. Then you can continue to break it down and say, we've got 10 of them that want job shadowing in accounting, 15 of them that want job shadowing in this and this and that. If you are able to assist us, please click here and volunteer. And then that's how people can actually volunteer towards you and then be able to assist you. I don't know if that answers your question, Tessa.
Does. Sorry, my only question is in terms of the location, I mean,
Yeah.
Can you do a general location like Johannesburg?
Yes, you can. You can say Johannesburg as a location, for instance. So if you see on this one, I think the location actually just says City of Joburg. It does, yeah, just say City of Johannesburg. It doesn't necessarily have an exact address on here.
Okay, thank you.
It's a pleasure. Righty, I think we had one more hand, and that was Liesel. Liesel, please go ahead with your question.
Firstly, I just want to say thank you for this meeting. It's really helpful, and to the designers who are making changes that also facilitate clarity. My question is, in response to our low score, I updated our tax documentation. I started doing the ratings, and I watched our score going up. And then when I logged in yesterday with my assistant to say this is how it works and please be at this meeting, I saw it had dropped all over again. I'm just not sure what happened there. If you can explain, thank you.
So I'd probably have to look in the back end for you, Liesel, because obviously it's a case-by-case matter. You might have had needs that expired. The current tax clearance that we have on our end might have expired, and it's the one that you just recently loaded. So I'd have to double check for you, and then I'll just get back to you, you guys at Jumpstart, and just let you know what it might be on our end. But it is on a case-by-case matter. So remember that as soon as one of your needs expires, as an example, you will see your score kind of start to drop. If you've got an unrated activity.
Okay. I understand, because I did remove one that was not applicable anymore, and now I understand. Thank you so much for explaining that.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Also, I still get this thing of admitting people, which I'm happy to do, but
please admit them for me for now. I'm not too sure what happened with my settings when I was doing it. Thank you so much,
okay,
Liesel.
all good.
Alrighty. Thank you so much, guys. I hope that clarifies a few of the questions that you guys might have had around that. Kate, I see your hand is still up. Is this the hand from previous, or is this a new hand?
Apparently, I don't know how to put it down. Let me do that.
No stress. Don't worry about it. Alrighty. So I'm just going to move on now to our new rating options. So remember, I did mention that now you are able to kind of give us a bit more clarity on what happened when you were interacting with our volunteer or donor. In terms of rating them. So you are now able to kind of like give us a bit more clarity, and that helps us a lot in terms of understanding as well what's happened. So for example, I'm going to show you with this one here. We've got someone called Neba Mologa. Did the volunteering take place? I know for a fact that this hasn't taken place, so I'm able now to say, no, it has not taken place, and select the reason. So now you're able to then select the reason and say, maybe you yourself as a course don't need any volunteers or any goods anymore. You and the volunteer maybe were unable to agree on the time. The volunteer did not respond. the volunteer didn't arrive. So maybe you've set up the time and the volunteer actually didn't come through and arrive. And then other. So maybe you want to give us a bit more context about what actually happened. So in the situation, obviously, if I say maybe other, then I will say the volunteer stopped answering my messages after our initial communication. As an example, obviously each person's got their different reason for why something would have happened, why it didn't happen. So if it didn't happen, then you'll say no, and then you submit this. Then we will on our side then understand why that volunteer has been rated that way. Let's say this did happen, right? So let's say this volunteer did come through. So how was the experience, right? Was it a 1 out of 5? So 1 obviously meaning a poor experience or not so great experience, and 5 meaning amazing, great, right? So you then decide, maybe you think it was a good experience, but doesn't deserve a 5. So maybe you give it a 4, right? So you just hover over the stars. When you feel comfortable with the number, then you click on the star that you want. Then how many hours did neighbor volunteer for? So how many hours did this volunteer come through for? So you're able to actually put it in. So maybe for just 2 hours, you're able to put in 2 hours. Then it's going to say, tell us a bit more about your experience. So you can say, neighbor was wonderful and arrived on time. I would recommend him as a volunteer, as an example, right? And then also, if you want, because this is a wonderful comment, you can also allow for the volunteer to receive the same comment from you to show them that you really, really appreciate that volunteering from them on their side, right? So that's what happens if you click a yes. So what happens now if maybe you were not the one who was managing your profile before and you've just taken over, so you're not really sure if that volunteering did happen, but you do want to make sure that your dashboard is cleared out, then you can just click on not sure, right? And then it's going to ask you for a reason. If you don't remember, sometimes it does happen. I know that you guys as NGOs get very busy on the ground. So if you don't really remember what happened and it happened too long ago for you to remember, and you don't want to rate them poorly if they did really well or vice versa, then you'll say, I'm not sure. And then you'll say, happened too long ago, I don't remember. Or maybe if you hadn't joined the organization yet, then you can say it was managed by a different person. That way, we are able to then see that, oh, okay, this course had a volunteer come through, but they don't really show what happened with the volunteering. So they're not going to rate this volunteer. So you're not really necessarily giving them a negative score or a positive score. You're just saying to us, I do not remember what happened with this volunteer because of 1 or 2 reasons. Okay, so that's just it when it comes to our ratings. Do we have any questions on the changes on the ratings? Have any one of you guys tried it? How are you finding it? Okay. Ratings are excellent. Thank you for that feedback, Marina. Really, really, really positive and helpful for our devs as well, because we've spent quite a bit of time working on all these changes. So it's really great to see that you guys are finding that the ratings are excellent. Alrighty, so now I'm just going to move on to explain a bit more about our top tier courses. So at the top of my screen, you guys would have seen that there was a percentage for this particular course that I'm using today, the 60% percentage, right? 60% is just when that's still fine for you to be on the platform. Normally when your score is under 60% is when I will send you an email to be like, hey, just work on your profile. You might find your needs have expired or you haven't updated your beneficiary needs or whatever it may be. You will get an email from me. But if your score is above 60%, then you're still doing all right. But what we want is we want to give our volunteers, especially the corporate guys, a really great experience. And so we want for everybody to try and aim to be a top tier course. And what a top tier course is a course that's got a score of 80% and above. And I know some of you are thinking, oh gosh, 80%, is that possible? Can I do it? And yes, it is. It is possible for you to get 80%. And remember, it's just about you making sure that you keep your needs updated. So make sure that you've got needs that don't expire very soon if you don't need them to expire very soon. So if you've got needs that are going to run for the whole year, make them run for the entire year and don't make them expire every month. And that'll cause you more work to come on the platform every single month to come and update those needs, as an example. Make sure when you see that your tax clearance is about to expire, just quickly drop me a quick mail and be like, hi, Zamo, here's my tax clearance, or we're working on a new tax clearance certificate. So getting 80% is not very difficult. Remember, once you have 4 needs, you've already got 25% of your score, right? Once you respond to volunteers on time, you've already got 25% of your score. So it's really about you just keeping an eye out on your For Good platform and keeping an eye out on the actual responses from the donors and the volunteers. You will also get nudged by an email from us to kind of say, hi Zamo, please go have a look at your inbox. You've got Rudy from For Good who's trying to volunteer to you and your course. So you will kind of get those emails from us. When you do get those emails, please just quickly jump onto your dashboard and respond, because obviously that will also then help with keeping your score up. And once you're on a dashboard, it also brings up other things that you might not really have seen before. Maybe you don't have enough needs anymore, as an example. Now you're able to pick up, oh gosh, I need to add more needs. Maybe someone else has sent you an email and that you read and you forgot about, and now you realize, oh gosh, I haven't responded to this other volunteer. Let me actually respond now. So 80% does sound a bit high, but it is achievable. And I am here to work together with you guys to make sure that we are hitting those 80%. But like I said, 60% is the minimum, but we all want all of our courses to be at 80% and above, just to be able to say that we've got really excellent courses who are maintaining their For Good platforms and profiles. Do we have any questions with that? Okay, perfect.
Sorry, can I ask a question, Zamo, quickly?
Yes, Tessa.
When it's an ongoing need, so it really never expires, can we obviously set it at the latest date possible and then just change the date without having to redo the need? Thanks.
Yep, so 100%. So you are able to edit out any of your needs. So let's say, for instance, you had a need that has now kind of expired. You would then be able to, this course is relatively new, so they don't have a need that's expired, but you'd be able to see under your needs, the expired needs, you'd be able to just reactivate them. But all of the needs, you're able to edit them out. So even if it's an expired need, you are able to go edit it out and then go change any part of the need itself. But particularly the information, you can then go and update the expiry date and make this, for instance, expire in 2025 as an example. Okay, perfect. And then Rudy's also got his hand up. Rudy, do you want to maybe add a bit more context to this, please?
Yeah, just the only scenario where you wouldn't be able to extend that is a need that's been completed. So let's say that you were asking for 10 volunteers, you got 10 volunteers, then you wouldn't be able to extend that. You'd have to create a new need. Or if it was a fundraising need and you were asking for 10,000 Rand and you got 10,000 Rand, then you'd have to create a new need under those circumstances. But under all other circumstances, you can extend or reopen.
Okay. So I see there's, thank you so much, Rudy. I see we've also got a question. So we have, all right. How do I add a new logo as one? So I'm going to show you guys how to do that, how to update your logo. Then we've also got one around where can I get the themes for the upcoming year? What I will do is post this session. I'll also just share the calendar. We had shared a calendar in the beginning of the year of all kind of like the days of recognition around NGOs. So I will share that again with you guys. And then what is considered a non-direct beneficiary? Can you give me an example? So let's say, for instance, you've got beneficiaries that you give food to, like food packs to in your organization. And that beneficiary then goes home and then gives some of that food to their family. So maybe you've given them a food pack. So that's what a non-direct beneficiary, that those other people that are part of that person's family are not necessarily your beneficiaries, but they do benefit from what your beneficiaries receive from you. So if you've got those numbers, then you're able to then put them in under the needs there. And then just a quick question on the logo. Let me just quickly show you guys how you can update the logo. So remember, on the platform, you're able to go and update anything that you need to update. So under your profile, you just go on there. And then under your course logo, just click on there. And then you can just click on the change image. And you can go find your new image or your logo wherever you would have saved it on your computer. So I don't know if that does answer your question around how do we update our logo. Okay, and then, okay, this is the search theme. Okay, what is considered, okay, when would donors be more active on the platform? Or when would, oh, okay, Philippa, okay, this is you adding. So Philippa's asked question, where can we find the themes coming up in the year? Or when would donors be more active on the platform? So we really aren't able to actually say when are donors more active on the platform? Because remember that donors come on the platform as they kind of feel and choose. So sometimes you might find that within a corporate client of ours, the 1 year they've got a big kind of push to get people to volunteer in a specific place or month. Like for instance, we've just had Deloitte in the last month do a big push for Deloitte Volunteering Day, which is something that hasn't happened in the past before. But this year was something that's new. So that's why we always say, please do try and just keep an eye out on the platform, because we can't always predict and kind of say this is when the big push of people are going to be on the platform the most. But obviously, just based off of experience, we know that Mandela Day, July is a big month for a lot of people. So if you've got those needs up, you've got the needs already ready, please put them up already, so that as people are starting to think about what to do on the day, how to give back, they already are seeing some of the needs that you have, and they might want to either collaborate with you or to partner up with you on those. So we really can't give you stats in terms of when is our platform more active, but we do know that July, obviously, we get a high usage because that's a big month in terms of giving back internationally and in South Africa as well. All right, and then I know we also discussed now around adding the number of beneficiaries. So again, let me just explain that to you guys in a bit more detail, because that's something that's new that a lot of you might not have seen before, even if you are familiar with using our platform. So when you are adding your needs, you are now also able to add the number of beneficiaries that particular need will impact. So as an example, I'm going to add a need for this course that they've asked me to add. So they've asked for specific goods, they've asked for clothing, they've asked for children's clothing, and they're there in City of Joburg. So help Mob Z by donating some scarves and gloves. Oh my gosh, my spelling of scarves is so shoddy. Some scarves and gloves for our beneficiaries at our schools. Right? So how many beneficiaries are we going to impact? So this is when now you decide this particular need is not going to impact all of my beneficiaries. It's only going to impact maybe 5 of them or 3 of them, just depending on what the need is. You decide. For this particular one, they'd like all their beneficiaries to be impacted. So they've got 300 of them. So 300 of them. Then it's going to ask you, will each item donated impact the same beneficiaries? Then we're going to say, yes, it will, because the person that's actually getting the gloves is the one that's going to actually get them. Oh, then Kate, I think you've got your hand up. Yes.
Sorry, just clarifying. So it says there, how many beneficiaries will each item donated impact?
Yes.
So if we're doing gloves and scarves, I would have thought each scarf will impact 1 beneficiary, would have been how I would answer that. Is that not right?
That's correct. You're right.
So, Zamu, I think it should be 1.
Oh, sorry. Yes, 1. Apologies about that. Sorry, my math is not so great. So 1,
Okay.
so that each beneficiary will then get 1 item of each. Thanks for that, Rudy. Cool. Then it's going to ask you, is it the same beneficiaries or different beneficiaries? So if it's the same people, then you say yes. Then you're able to move on. So now they can share a bit more about the need, right? So these guys, we have 4 campuses around Gauteng. And we would love for our children to each get a scarf rather and a pair of gloves this winter. Right? Then you can actually say, we receive, this is where you can add a bit more details to let them know, right? So we are open to receive donations Monday to Friday between 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. as an example, right? So whatever it is that you want to add on here, if the person needs to know if there's safe parking, please put that in here in terms of the more details. if you need them to bring something to kind of identify themselves, please make sure you've got your driver's license with you so we know that it is you. Whatever it is that you want to add on here, you put it on in the more about the need. Then when will this need expire? This one is expiring specifically end of July rather, so end of winter. We want it to expire end of July. Then you're also able to add a thumbnail image. So I'm just going to go grab one now. Let me grab one from my files. I think I've got something that will be fine here. Gloves. I thought I saved gloves. Yeah. Okay, I don't have an image of gloves. I'll find any random image from our gallery and then I'll just update it later. Just say clothing. Yeah.
You should be able to type in the.
Let me see. I was hoping that. There we go. Yeah, let me get these ones once. Thank you, Chatter.
Cool.
There we go. We've got some gloves. Then you can submit that need. There we go.
Okay.
Yes, Rudy, please go ahead.
Sorry, Samo. Can we maybe just edit that and just because I think that the particularly those issues on the number of beneficiaries impacted and whether it's the same beneficiaries or different beneficiaries.
No worries.
It's a confusing concept. We tried to make it as simple as we could, but this is the best that we could do. So I think that it would be just useful to look at the impact of some of those things.
Sure. Okay, there we go.
So if we were to make it, so each item will benefit one. So in this case, it was donating gloves. So it is one beneficiary per item donated. So that was correct. That's one.
Okay.
But let's say that it was no different beneficiaries. So if we clicked.
Oh, must I leave the one there? Okay, cool.
Leave the one there, but let's try change the different beneficiaries. Then look at the text that's underneath that. That's the clearest way to understand what's actually going on here. So if we say if you received 2 items, then 2 beneficiaries will be impacted. Let's change the number of beneficiaries and see what that does. So let's say 10 beneficiaries. Yeah.
10 beneficiaries. There we go.
Yeah. Then this is saying that it's let's say the scenario here would be if you donate a washing machine, then if it's different, so click on same beneficiaries again now.
There you go.
Yeah. Then this is saying that there's 10 total beneficiaries. So if you donate a washing machine, it's serving all of the children at the center, then there's only 10 beneficiaries. But if it's different beneficiaries, then if you receive 10, if there's 10 beneficiaries impacted per item, then it would be 20 beneficiaries overall. So in the case of the gloves, it would be different beneficiaries. So it would be 1 beneficiary per item, but it would be different beneficiaries because each one is benefiting a different person. Yes. Yeah. So I know that this is confusing, and if you have any thoughts for us on how to make it clearer for you, then we'd really appreciate that feedback. But this was the clearest we could come up with. And what I would suggest is just to look at that text underneath there to understand if you donate 1 item or if you receive 1 item, how many total beneficiaries will be impacted by that.
Oh, thank you so much, Rudy. I see we've got a couple of hands, so I think this is something that maybe people might want to share a bit of feedback or some ideas around what we can do. So I see, right, Kate, I don't know if you've forgotten to drop your hand again, or is this still you with your hand up?
I did forget it, but I do have a question as well.
Sure,
so if we have a more vague need, like donate clothing, or the time needs, this would only be for the goods needs. And then I guess we just estimate what an average donation of clothing in a bag would be.
Yes, we'd probably use an estimation for those kind of cases where it's not necessarily specific for a number of people. Then
Okay.
we definitely want you to maybe try and use an estimate on that. Thank you, Kate. Liesel, and see you've also got your hand up. Do you have a question?
I do. It's more a suggestion for Rudy and his crew. You know, sometimes you get an offer, like somebody wants to donate you a Christmas tree in January. And it's like just so far off it's like completely inappropriate and not useful. Instead of like having to type out a nice letter, whatever, is there like just a nix, like a simple thumbs down option that just takes it out of the inbox? And then the other thing is where we've specifically asked for example, our interns are trying to start up side hustles or small businesses. And you can see that the person that's responding is maybe like a second year student and they don't yet know how to spell entrepreneurship. They've spelled it with an I instead of an E. And like in terms of my time to type a small note saying, thank you, you clearly don't know how to do this yet yourself, so not helpful. Again, is there like a quick cross option? Like this isn't a good fit.
Yeah, I think
Thanks.
I'll
That's my
give. I think. Thank
Yeah.
you so much, Lisa, for that. I think I'll give Rudy a chance to answer that. Rudy.
Yeah, so on the two things on the offers, I think that you can dismiss an offer if it comes through on your dashboard. So for those ones, you don't need to write any kind of response. You can archive it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I archive the same thing like every single day and it keeps showing up.
Okay, that's
Oh.
useful for us to know. We'll have to look at that. We'll take a look at your profile particularly, and see if we can figure out what's going on. That there might be a bug that's triggering that. We'll look into that. Then on the other one for having a quick response, that's actually a great suggestion. It's not something that we've got on our roadmap at the moment, but it's something that I think has a lot of value. So we'll look at ways that we can implement that to save you guys some time.
Perfect. Thank you, Liesel. And then I see we've got Tessa and then Karen and Diana. Tessa, please, can you go next for us?
Sure. Sorry, not specific to this exact section, but I have a question on how do we get the attention of, for example, a corporate who funds something specific. So, for example, with our youth, we found a corporate that specifically wants to upskill youth. How do we, and it's obviously a need of ours, so how do we get the attention of corporates out there? We don't know who they are yet, but we have a specific need like that. And is there a way to connect them, what they've put out there, and us in a way on your platform? Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Tessa. So what we do have is we've also got some of our own kind of corporate clients who are we've got their own kind of white labeled platforms. So they are able to go on there to look for opportunities to be able to partner up with nonprofits like yourself. But what I did share in the beginning, I think maybe majority of you guys might have been in that session in the beginning of the year, was you are also able to just share with me a proposal of any sorts that you might have that you think might actually be great for some of our corporates. So whatever the proposal may be, then what I'll do is I'll then share with our clients team, so our program managers, to then be able to kind of see, is there any way that we can find some sort of synergy between what our corporate clients are planning on doing for the year and what you've kind of got on your side as well. Because we do a bit of partnership with them, but obviously if it does align with what they want to do and their plans for the year. But yes, please do go ahead. This is good. This goes for any one of you guys. If you feel like you've got some sort of proposal that you might want to share, please do drop me a mail. I do have meetings, weekly meetings with my programs team, and share with them some information from our courses. And sometimes clients do want to then go ahead and partner up with them. Thanks, Tessa. Karen, you can go ahead.
Okay, just going back to that platform we were just discussing with the one and the
Yes.
now I've forgotten because I don't see what's going. Okay, so we
No
hand out
worries.
250 parcels a month, but it goes to different beneficiaries. So what do I put? One and then what? 250 or 250 and use the different one?
So you make 250 parcels, Karen, and each parcel goes to an individual mother, as an example.
Correct.
Okay. So I think in that case, let me just share my screen so that we are also not speaking incorrectly. So I think in that case, what will happen is that obviously as you add your need within your title, you then, let me just move on here. You then will say, oh gosh, let me just edit it out, sorry. As you're adding your need, in your need title itself, this is where you're going to be asking for however many. So you can then say for 300 children as an example, right? So
Yeah.
then in the beneficiaries, then you would then keep it as one. So like if you received, I mean, as two different beneficiaries. So if you received one singular pack, it'll only impact one singular person. So if in your case 250, if you've asked for 250 in the need title, then that'll be understanding that the 250 items, each singular item will then impact one single person. Rudy, I don't know if I've
Okay.
answered that correctly. Please jump in. I know this is also quite a new concept for us as well. So
Yes, that's correct. So with the goods needs, I don't think that we can specify how many responses, how many actual individual goods responses we're requiring. But you can donate multiple times to one goods need.
gotcha.
We just need to actually confirm this because this is actually a case that it's a very valid case, and we need to just check that it's working the way that we expect.
Okay. So maybe what we'll do, Karen, is let me ask Rudy just to double check because I don't think he can do it now. But then we can just get back to you guys
Okay.
at Granny's UK in terms of what is the best way around that. And maybe what we'll do is when I send an email post the session, just to kind of clarify it. I'll clarify it for everybody in the email so that it's not just for Karen, so that you each know individually as you go about with your courses what would be the best way to kind of treat something like that. Is that okay with you, Rudy?
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that the way that goods needs have generally worked on our platform is that it would be asking for one big thing, like we need a lawnmower or we need a bag of clothes, and then when somebody fulfills that, I think it actually completes the need. But there's clearly a case for donating multiple small items. So I just need to confirm how that actually currently works on the platform. And we may need to make some tweaks so that you can say how many of a particular item you need or a particular donation. So if it's gloves, then we are looking for 250 gloves, for example. Or it would just keep it open as long as it hasn't gone past its expiry date. So we'll definitely look on that to make that process work better for you.
Great stuff. Thank you so much, Rudy. And I think I saw a hand by, thanks, Karen. I think I saw a hand by Diana. Diana, please go ahead with your question.
So mine is still on the same because I was playing around in terms of this beneficiary and I changed around. When I went now to the go back to the overall picture, it's now saying when it asks beneficiaries impacted, it then goes on to say one, because I went in there on the beneficiaries and I said, I'm looking for stationery, and it says how many beneficiaries will each be done. I did one and I say no. So it says if you receive 2 donated items, then 2 beneficiaries will be impacted. But now what I'm concerned about, when the donors look at the overall picture, it's just saying that beneficiaries impacted, it's 1. So that summary is then not giving the true story because I've got 70 beneficiaries that will be impacted.
Oh, so you would have received one big donation, but it's 70 small items in that one big donation, if I'm understanding you correctly. So I think it's a very similar question to what Karen had, and around with them as well, they receive baby packs. And so what happens if someone donates a big care pack with different items in there, not necessarily one item, and it might end up benefiting more than one person. And I think that's what Rudy's saying. He's just going to just check for us in the back end, because we don't want to also answer and give you the incorrect answers. So he's just going to check for us in the back end and confirm around how it currently works right now and what that would look like. Rudy, also just maybe want to jump in?
Yeah, I think that if it depends on how it's phrased. So if in your goods need you're saying we're wanting you to donate each person to donate a pack of a stationery, a pencil bag, let's say, filled with stationery, then in that case you could say that it's benefiting, each donation would benefit one person. What we need to just verify is that you can just receive lots of separate donations on that one goods need. That's what I need to verify. The second scenario would be to say we're looking for donations for our students, and if you phrase it in such a way that you're wanting a big donation, so you want somebody to donate stationery for 70 kids, then you would say that it's the number of beneficiaries is 70, and that it's the same beneficiaries. So then it would be one donation and it would benefit all of the kids. So it depends on what kind of donation you're expecting. I know this can be confusing. I hope that clarifies it somewhat.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Before I go to you, Liesel, I've got a question from the actual chat here. This is from Jenny. Jenny says, is there a way to stop an offer to our organization showing as we did not respond to the donor's message when in fact the donor took things to the email when we responded there? And then the donation did happen. We rated the experience as 5 stars, but years later, it still shows that we didn't respond to the initial message. So it seems like it's not really moving off of that dashboard really. So it's still appearing as an activity that hasn't been rated, from what I'm understanding correctly from Jenny's message. But they have actually rated it 5 stars, but it's still not moving. So I think maybe for that as well, we might have to just check what is happening with that with Jenny. Jenny, if you can, maybe just drop me a quick email after this, just with a screenshot of your dashboard, so we'd be able to just investigate on our back end. Chad and the other guys will be able to check for us in the back end what is maybe causing that issue on your end. Thank you so much. And then Liesel, please can you go right ahead, and then I'll take Michelle's question afterwards.
My question is about whether you incentivize social media posts as a way of building up your score. It appeared that it wasn't the case, and you may have changed it, and I'm not up to date on that. And then the other question for the dev is, how easy would it be to integrate and ask into a social media platform? Because I know certainly if I'm working in Canva, it's like, ching, you can just go straight, you can push your post through onto your socials very easily. And I'm thinking that in terms of everybody here, social media is always a thing that somebody's got to do it. And if you facilitate, if you could facilitate it, it might just also build the whole profile of For Good altogether. Thanks so much.
Hey, thank you, Liesel. So just to answer the first part of the question, so currently that we do not have a way to incentivize any social media posts directly to your profile score. And then in terms of the ease of build, I think I'll leave that to the professionals. Rudy, how easy, or any one of the other devs, how easy would it be to integrate, I guess, the social media with the platform?
I can just show you quickly. There is a way to do it to some extent already. Let me just do this. Yeah. So, for example, here, if you go to your own profile, you could then
Rudy, please
use
give us
this.
a 2 seconds. Your screen's not picking up on our side yet. Is it just me, or maybe everybody else can see it? I'm not seeing.
No, I can't see it either.
Yeah, maybe if you stop sharing, Rudy, and then start reshare again, maybe it'll work.
Yeah, let's try that. Let's try it this way.
Yes, there we go. We can see it. Thank you so much, Rudy.
All right. So if you go to a particular profile that you're looking for and you want to share it, then there are these tools up here that you can use to just bring that post into your social media of choice, and then that might be a way to achieve what you're looking for. We haven't looked at integrating any broader social media integrations, but it might be something we look at in the future.
Perfect. And then I see. Oh yes, go ahead, Arthur, please.
Just on that same topic, would we be able to post on the For Good Facebook platform as well, or would you be able to share a post for us?
So what I normally would do is there is a For Good course page actually. So if you are not on the course page, I'll also send the link on my email out just to be able to make sure that everybody's on the course page. That's where I normally would share a lot of the For Good kind of work that we're doing. If we're looking to partner up with people, I'll also share it there. And we are always resharing. Like we've just recently reshared a post. I think it was Diana with her course, which just had some employees from Deloitte and a bunch of other people go over to her and kind of volunteer. So yes, definitely, if you do post and you do tag us, we do reshare to our course network so everybody else can actually be able to get a chance to see some of the work that you are doing on the ground. Thanks, Arthur. And then Michelle says, do stories we post have an impact on our rating? Do you think the donors or the corporates read them? Michelle, the stories don't necessarily have an impact on your rating. No, not currently. But yes, the corporates do read the stories. They do really do read them. And sometimes it's through the stories that they actually consider doing partnerships with certain people, right? So maybe you've written up a nice kind of impact story about what happened when some volunteers came through, and that you also still are willing and able to look for more volunteers to come through for that particular project. You might find the CSI manager of one of the corporates that we work with is on the platform reading the story and then wants to connect with you guys. So please do, if you have the stories to share, please do put them on the platform. It's great for us to be able to also then show them as well, to say this is what the impact that you guys are able to make with your employees looks like. And it encourages them also to just kind of push the message of volunteering and donating within their own organizations as well. And then I see Liesel says, oh, there we go. Thanks, Rudy. I was going to say it should still be there. Great, Michelle. I'm glad that you are answered by that. And then I think the last thing that I just want to show you, I know you're running a bit over, but I just wanted to show you this last little thing before we dash off. And that's just the priority tab. And this is going to be able to help you remember and realize when you haven't actually responded to a volunteer. Remember, I did say you've got 5 days now to respond to a volunteer. And so what will happen is that when someone reaches out to you, it'll automatically then start this countdown of your first responses due in X amount of days. And so when you log into the platform, you're able to then go directly to your conversations tab and actually see, oh gosh, I haven't responded to Lesego as an example. Let me actually quickly respond to her. Or actually, I've missed Junior's correspondence and the first response is now due. I need to respond to Junior. So this is just for us to be able to help you figure out which conversations you actually have responded to, how many days you've got left to be able to respond to something, and which responses are overdue. So this is just the last thing that we've just kind of inputted on the platform to kind of help you, just a priority dashboard. So you're able to kind of see at the top who you haven't responded to, how many days you've got left on that. And I don't know if guys have got any questions on that particular one. Okay, excellent. Also, I see Arthur's got his hand up. Arthur, please go ahead.
No, just to say thank you for building that in, Zamu, because it helps us, because you're not looking at the platform every day, but when those reminders pop up, you realize, okay, there's something important we have to attend to. So to Rudy and his team, thank you for building that in.
Thank you so much for that great feedback, Arthur. We really
Thanks, Arthur.
appreciate it. And I think that is the end of our session today, guys. Thank you so much here again for joining me. Like I said, I always appreciate you guys joining us on these sessions. It's always so insightful and it's always great for us to learn from you guys. I also think some of our devs have got some ideas as well as some of the new changes that they can make going forward. But just a big shout out to you guys. We really appreciate you. And then one last request from Liesel before we jump off. She'd like to know if we could start deleting or lingering requests that go back to 2017. So we've made a note of that as well, Liesel. We will check with our dev team what is possible with that, and then we'll get back to you. And then hopefully we'll have another session again in a couple of months when the devs have had their time to kind of work on a few of the changes that we've spoken about today. Like I said, please do send through any feedback that you might have. If something's not doing what you think it's supposed to be doing on the platform, please share that with us. We are always here and willing to help. But thank you so much, guys, and wish you all a great holiday tomorrow. Cheers, cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amos. Thanks, guys, for all the amazing work that you guys are doing as well.
This is great. Thank you for the information.
It's a pleasure. It's such a pleasure, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Summer.